lot going on in the Middle East, just incredible. And there's a lot going on in this country. There's so many things happening in the country right now that introduces a level of uncertainty that I don't think we've ever had before. And are all these things good in the long term or not? You know, all the noise about tariffs and so on and so on. So you have all that turmoil going on. You got the whole China unrest thing, Russia, Ukraine, the Middle East thing we think is going to work out, but even there, you have to, was it the proofs in the pudding? You need to see how this plays out over some time to know if it really is a solution or not. Just a lot of unrest, uncertainty, I don't know what. But in any case, I want to share this. So I want to read scripture to you this morning. I've got two of them. The first is Isaiah 55, 6 to 11. And there are a couple of verses in here in particular. In fact, a couple of verses in here I've shared with lots of people this week. But Isaiah 55, 6 to 11. God says, "Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call on him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake their ways and the unrighteous their thoughts. Let them turn to the Lord, and he will have mercy on them, and to our God, for he will freely pardon." Verse 8, very important. "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord." And we need to remember that when there's huge turmoil, unrest, I don't know what you want to call it, God's will is being accomplished. It's hard for us to see that. It's hard for us to imagine how on earth is God's will being accomplished, but it is. We'll continue on. "As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." We think like God, and we're not even close to thinking the way God is. And our ways are certainly not God's way. But I give you an easy worldly example of that is we think if you're good, good things should happen to you, and if you're evil, bad things should happen to you. That's not how God thinks. It's not even how he works. So that's what he's trying to explain to them. "As the rain and the snow come down from heaven and do not return to it without watering the earth and making it bud and flourish, so that it yields seed for the sower and bread for the eater." This is a powerful verse right here. "So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it." And all these rulers and authorities and things think they've got things figured out. They're either doing God's will or they're doing what God knew they would do, and it fits in God. It's hard to say that Netanyahu and all the Middle East people or the leaders in the House and the Senate are doing God's will, but God is in control of this. And as he says here, his word is going to accomplish what he set out. Well, we are studying his word in this class. And what we are studying is going to happen. But it's going to happen in God's time and God's way, not ours. So Trump is not the Antichrist. Let's just start right there. Oh, Lonnie's so disappointed. We are on the threshold of having peace in the Middle East. Unheard of. That's it. That's the beginning of the tribulation period because we're going to have peace in the middle. No. It does, however, it's an interesting picture that we're going to have that we haven't had before. It isolates Israel. Because in the past, in a sense, it isolates Israel. Israel over here and all the Middle East. Where in the past, we had Israel and one or two of the people in the Middle East, and then the other crackpots and the other. All of a sudden now we have a dichotomy that's a unity. When Iran says they favor this peace treaty, I go, boy, what is wrong with this? What am I missing? Literally, the entire Arab Middle Eastern world supports what they're getting ready to do. Just makes me a little nervous. And you should all, oh, good, we're going to have peace. And yeah, I'd keep my eye out. But God is not mocked. God is not fooled. And what's happening over there is pieces of God's plan are falling into place, even though that may not look to us. Now, the other verse I wanted to share with you, speaking of all of this, and perhaps even in your own lives right now, I don't know. I used to have a tray. Oh, there it is. Perhaps in your own lives too, things happen that upset us. And what does that jerk, whatever. And then the stuff all going on internationally and so on. And here I'm trying to read my Bible and I'm getting all emotional about things I shouldn't even be letting it bother me. Well, here we go. Ephesians 6, 10 to 12. I know you folks have studied this probably a ton, but we need to remind ourselves of this from time to time. And the Lord pointed it out to me this week. It says, finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. So before we even move on from there, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. That applies when your world's upside down or when things don't seem right or you're, man, the Jews had imprecatory psalms, they call them. A pox on your camel, Be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. And he has many, by the way. That's not in there, that's me. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood. And we're human. We want to blame somebody. That Speaker of the House, that the president's fault, that turkey that's running, name a state. No. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world. We're living in a dark world. We have been living in a dark world. Excuse me. And against the spiritual forces of evil, where? In the heavenly realms. There are spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. And we're going to study a lot more of that as we get moving into this thing. But be careful that you don't get upset. I hear people in the news, that jerk that's the mayor of this or the governor of that and all these things. This is just Satan working the prince of the air, right? That's the world we live in. We need to focus on the lost in that world and not get so caught up in what's going on in the world we lose our focus. And even if today is the beginning of the tribulation period, which it is not, it changes nothing. Our job is to reach the lost and to feed the followers and visit the sick and the prison and all those things. That will be our job till the day Christ calls us back. And all this other stuff just distracts us, period. So I'll stop preaching. That's how the Lord spoke to me this week, and I just wanted to pass it on to you. Now, you all have your little cheat sheets? Probably not. And I've only got one, so you'll have to trust me this morning. I've given them out twice. I'll make another set. You're going to trust me. As we get into Revelation, you're going to need this. I want to take a minute, and let's just review. I know this board is full of stuff, and I even put some more stuff up there. But we started over here with the 4 horses and 7 seals. 7 seals, 7 judgments, if you will. Here we talked about the mid-trib. So the tribulation is 7 years. You get mid-trib 3.5. This is considered the period of great tribulation, the second half. And we're going to be looking at that even more in depth today. This, we talked about the angel of death and all of that. And then, because you have to remember, these are broad, right? Of course, the Antichrist is a person, but these are broad. Conflict, economy, death in Hades, the 4 horsemen. That was our thing coming across this way. You're going to have that in the background through all of this. And then we read about how, by today's estimate, 75 million people would die, right? 75. Trying to remember what this was. This was, how many people died in World War II? and it was somewhere in the 50-55 million range. And then 15 to 20 million, this is military, this was civilians, 15 to 20 million civilians died. So you had roughly 75, I think I saw 81 somewhere, but in the high 70s, low 80s. Well, a fourth of the earth, was it a fourth? I think. We read where the fourth of the earth was going to die. And then we did the math. That would mean that in 2 months, all the people who died in World War II will be dead. Or if you want to look at it another way, what is that? 35 million, 9 million a week. 9 million a week will die when this seal gets broke. It's incredible. So with that, that's where we stopped. We went to the fifth seal. So now we're in Revelation at the fifth seal. And refresh our memory there real quick. Let me jump over there. Well, what did I do with the scripture? Oh, here we go. Right, okay. When he opened the fifth seal, so we're in Revelation 6, verse 9. When he opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain because of the word of God and the testimony they had maintained. There was a lot in this section of verses. They called out in a loud voice, "How long, sovereign Lord, holy and true, until you judge the inhabitants of the earth and avenge our blood?" Then each of them was given a white robe, and they were told to wait a little longer until the full number of their fellow servants, their brothers and sisters, were killed just as they had been. Hoy. What's the first thing we see here? Very first thing we see. We have those who have died, souls, talking to God. Right away, talking to God. Huge numbers. A lot of people tend to think, I think when you die, you go to heaven and just sit around under your banana tree until we get called back here. Second, a lot of people think if you go to heaven, and we've studied all this, but you go to heaven, you're like just floating around in space or something, and there's no interaction with anybody else. No. Third, they called out in a loud voice, "How long, sovereign Lord, holy and true, until you judge the inhabitants of the earth and avenge our blood?" They know why they're up there. They know what happened to them on the earth. A lot of us think you die and you just forget everything. They know what happened to them, and they're not only that, they're up in front of God. Hey, you know, I got killed. I got people back there. How long are you gonna let this go on? Incredible, just an absolute incredible view of heaven. And then each of them are given a white robe and told to wait a little longer until the full number killed, just as they had been. Who are these people?
Well, my interpretation, there were people that had come to faith during the tribulation.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. So what's happening in here, period of great tribulation, the death and Hades and all of this, in addition to what Jack's referring to, we have people all along, particularly in the second half, who are dying from famine, disease, war, all these things we talked about up here. In addition to all of those, now the Antichrist has come in right here and said, "I'm God, not you." And the Jews are being hated by everybody suddenly, total reverse of what's going to be in the end. And so between the slaughter of the Jews and the denying of Christ and the "I'm the real God, you get my seal or you're dead," all these souls underneath there, they're the ones that didn't get the seal and have accepted Christ. There will be a lot of folks saved during the mid-tribulation period. So the fact that the church doesn't want to go through it, too bad. There's work to be done. The other thing that's interesting about all this bloodshed, we tend to think of it as a bad thing. God sees it as a good thing. It's really hard to understand. I just really uncomfortable with that, but he does. I mean, it's just my way is not your way. My thoughts are not, He thinks differently in everything. And this is accomplishing his will. Now, Revelation, excuse me, not 9:1, Revelation 6:12. This is where you're going to need your symbols. I watched as he opened the sixth seal. It was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red, and the stars in the sky fell to earth as figs drop from a fig tree when shaken by a strong wind. The heavens receded like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain was removed from its place. Then the kings of the earth, the princes, the generals, the rich, the mighty, and everyone else, both slave and free, hid in caves and among the rocks of the mountains. They called to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who can withstand it? So I'm going to go running to the hills, jump in a cave and say, fall on me and protect me. What? What? Yeah, we're going to leave that for later. So this is where we start to get into a lot of symbols, and a lot of it sounds like it's real and physical until you look closer. So we're going to look closer this morning. We'll come back to the sun and the moon in a moment. Stars, here we go. And we're using the Bible to do this, by the way. This isn't Wes dreaming these things up. I couldn't anyway. Verse 13, and the stars in the sky fell to earth as figs drop from a fig tree. We're talking about a lot of stars falling on the earth when shaken by a strong wind. One star would annihilate us. And this is meteors, or this is meteor dust, or some poo-poo. Let's go over to Revelation chapter 9 for a moment. And did I print that one verse out? I don't know. I may have somebody read it. I'll just have it. Bill, if you'd read Revelation 9, verse 1.
And the fifth angel blew his trumpet, and I saw a star fallen from heaven to earth, and he was given the key to the shaft of the bottomless pit.
A star fell from heaven to earth, and he was given. This is not a physical star. This, in this case, is the angel of the abyss, or whatever you want to call it. Stars falling to earth are heavenly beings being booted out. And we've read before, there's a war in heaven, and Satan and all his followers get kicked out. I tell people this all the time. If you think the evil in this world is something now, there are demons, and we're going to see it as we go through these, being held back that are going to be released when they're kicked out of heaven. And Satan's going to be given free reign of everything for a short period of time. And in fact, very short, because we couldn't withstand it otherwise. So stars falling from heaven to the sky as figs, blah, blah, blah. Every mountain and island was removed from its place. So Hawaii is now in the middle of Utah. Or, the Sandias are shifted down to Guadalajara. Doesn't mean that. So if you have your little cheat sheet, what's a mountain? I've brought that one up a whole bunch of times. Authority. Government or authority. What's an island?
Collection of people who are living in ignorance and remote from faith in Christ.
I think I live on that island. Yeah, an island means a collection of people denying Christ and have no clue about, they're off on their own little thing. So you have all these mountains and islands it says, stars that fell, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. So what would that mean? Anarchy. A complete lack of trust in any of those things. People are going to lose faith in our government. We're there. This is the tribulation period. What am I saying? Yeah, they're going to lose faith in their government. And we're going to see in a little bit, when we're talking about trees and things, they lose faith in those too. We don't realize as societies, even terrorist societies, we're structured and we depend on leadership and we depend on bureaucracies. And, I got to get a driver's license. I know if I go down to, heaven help you, DMV, I can get a driver. And everybody who has one has generally passed the same standard test. And, we trust DMV to enforce that with everyone that's on the road. That doesn't always happen, but still, you put your authority in, department of this, department of that, whatever you want to call it. That's going to get shaken big time. And governments, it says it's moved. It didn't say it was destroyed. And what's going to happen is people start losing faith in them. And I think what's going to happen is the governments are going to go and become a part of the Antichrist government, that movement, if you will. And we'll see some more of this in a minute. But so here's what happens. You can see this then. The stars, the moon turns red. That's probably what's going on with the church because we reflect the sun, which is Christ. There's darkness in heaven. We've got a rebellion up there. Boom, Satan and his followers are tossed out. And as a result of that, the mountains and the, lost my place in the thing, every mountain and island are removed from its place. Then, so remember, that's going on. Now the kings of the earth, the authorities and so on, the princes, generals, the rich, mighty, everyone else, slave and free, nobody's exempted from this, hid in caves and the rocks of the mountains. What does that mean? Let's all go to Montana. What does that mean? I bet it took me a couple of years to figure it out. What happened when the COVID epidemic first hit? In fact, through most of it. What was
Lockdown?
Well, we had a lockdown, that's true. What were we all screaming for? What did we all want? Now, I don't know about you. I think what we wanted first, stop all these people from bringing it into the country. Who has the authority to do that?
The government?
Oh, the mountain. Who did that for them? FAA, TSA, so on. Caves in the mountain. We ran to caves in the mountain to protect us from that evil force we were letting into our country. We wanted, right away, we ran to the government, get us a vaccine. Of course, as soon as they did, I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was a miracle. We got one that fast and it worked. We're running to NIH. Whenever there's something threatening in society, we run to the government. We run to the mountain. We want to be protected. You have a mass shooting, what do people tell Congress? Yeah, get those guns out of here. Protect us from that evil. That's what's happening here. People are running for cover. Protect us. Now, it says the kings are running for cover. They're going into their caves. So where do kings go when they want cover? No? I bet you do know. NATO, the UN, run to China and let's all form the evil axis of the West or something. This is the environment that's going to be going on when the Antichrist, as the what is it, the image that causes abomination, or the statue, or what causes desolation, the abomination that causes desolation. From that period on, it's going to shake every government in the world, every authority in the world, because the Antichrist wants it all. One world currency, yada, yada, yada. And it's going to completely upset all the governments in the world. They're not going to know how do we react, what do we do? And people are going to be expecting them to have the answers, and they're not going to have. The Antichrist is going to say, I'm the only one with the answer. They call to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us and hide us from him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. The Antichrist is blaming all of this on Christ and the Jews. And everybody believes him, and they think all their troubles are we heard this before. All of their problems in the world are being caused by those Jews and those Christ followers. Now, how do we bring the Jews and the Christ followers together as a single person? Who's a Jew that's a Christ follower? What do we call them? Hello. Messianic Jews. You're going to have a group of Messianic Jews, which we will read about in the next chapter. I'm getting ahead a little bit, but that's okay. You're going to have a group of Messianic Jews who are going to go throughout the world, it says, or at least get the word spread throughout the world. The Antichrist is Satan, and the real Messiah is Jesus. And they're Jewish. The Messianic Jews are Jewish Christians. So this is going to be perfect for the world to hate. Those Christians, those Jews who have, brainwashed all those people, that's the problem we've got. And that's where we're going to head during this tail end of the second half of the mid-tribulation. Many are going to get killed. Many, many, many. And that's what you were reading about this morning when we opened that seal. When they open that seal, to me, the picture we get of heaven is eye-opening. All right, now we need to pick up. This is another seal yet. Oh, that's right. The next seal is in chapter 8. So we're going to go on. So that gets us to number 6, I believe. Yeah, this is the cosmic upheaval. And people will say, all this stuff in space is going to be weird. No, it's got nothing to do with that. We're fighting a spiritual battle. Satan and his followers are going to be kicked out of heaven, and they're going to be thrown down to earth for a short period. And Satan knows his time is short. It's going to be awful. I want to read you something we studied way back. This is Daniel 9, 25, 27. Daniel 9, 25 to 27. Know and understand this. From the time the word goes out to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the anointed one, the ruler, comes, there will be 7 sevens and 62 sevens. So this is the 69 and 70 weeks we're talking about. It will be rebuilt with streets and a trench, but in times of trouble. After the 62 sevens, the anointed one will be put to death and will have nothing. The people of the ruler who will come will destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end will come like a flood. War will continue until the end, and desolations have been decreed. He will confirm a covenant with many for 1 7, and this is where we are now. And when it says he will confirm a covenant, that's Antichrist gets a peace treaty or an agreement or something with Israel, beginning of the 7 years. He will confirm a covenant with many for 1 7. In the middle of the 7, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering. And at the temple, he will set up an abomination that causes desolation until the end that is decreed is poured out on him. And so that's what we're looking at today is now that second half, the death, destruction, and so on that's going to come. And again, through him persecuting believers, that's the souls we just saw in earlier verses, and through war, pestilence, and famine, that's going to be, the whole second half is just going to be miserable for everybody. So now you talk about people running to the caves. We expect the government to control our agriculture. And if we don't have agriculture, we expect our government to go out and import it and protect us, keep our food sources, right, so on and so on. So you got a big giant famine. First thing everybody's going to do is run into the mountains to the USDA cave or whatever. Where's my food? We have to have food. Where's our food? It's going to be awful, and people will be attracted to all sorts of idols and lucky charms and spiritists and spirit readers and all of this nonsense. Now, so we're getting ready to flip over, but before we do, to the so Matthew 24, starting in verse 4. It'll take time to read all of this, but I want you to see it. This is the destruction of the temple and the signs of the end. And let's go down to verse 15. We'll start there. 24:15. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. So the Jews, the second that thing goes up, the Jews are going to know, we got to get out of here. Let no one on the housetop go down to take anything out of the house, which is what we saw when the Palestinians fled Gaza. When there's immediate destruction coming, you grab your child and get the heck out. And that's what it's talking about here. Let no one in the field go back to get their cloak. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight will not take place in winter or on the Sabbath. For then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. At that time, if anyone says to you, look, here is the Messiah, or there, do not believe it. For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. And now remember, I was telling you that there are demons in heaven. We don't have down here yet. They're not omnipresent, they're in one place. These dudes are going to come down, and this is what's going to empower these false messiahs and false prophets and all of that. And you've got a whole population of non-believers trying to find something to cling to. Fortunately, right now, it's been in the news several times, the Gen Z folks are coming back to the church. And males in particular are looking for moral leadership and those kinds of things. In this environment, people who are non-believers are going to grab anything they can to have some sense of security. And it's going to be all these false messiahs, false prophets, idols. We'll read more about witchcraft, all sorts of things. And he says, 24, for false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you ahead of time. So if anyone tells you there he is out in the wilderness, do not go out. Or here he is in the inner room, do not believe him. So the first time somebody says, let's go to Montana and hide in a cave, forget it, right? For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even to the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. When you read about the scroll, the sky rolls back like a scroll. When Christ comes down, trust me, everybody is going to see him. Do not believe it. For as lightning that comes east is visible even to the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever there is a carcass, there the vultures will gather. Well, I'm not going to gather over there. Immediately, now this is, again, this was what Christ told him in chapter 24. What we are now going to read is Revelation's 6th seal. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light. And many believe that the Holy Spirit is not present. The sun doesn't give us light. The moon is the church that reflects the sun's light, and the church pretty much being raptured is not giving its either. The stars will fall from the sky. So the Holy Spirit, Christ and his presence and the church are going to be pulled out, and thrust down to earth is going to be Satan, and it is going to be the darkest world you can ever imagine. Just awful. And he says, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send, now this is a good one right here, and he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from where? From the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. So we know, there is no doubt, when Christ returns, all believers are coming back with him. Now you can pick somewhere to put your rapture in that, whatever you want. Right here, when Christ returns, we're with him. Now, and it says he's going to gather them from the four corners of heaven, or something to that, from the four winds, one end of heaven to the other. Some people will argue that this is when the rapture happens. This says he's gathering them from all over heaven. Well, I can't wait to get up there and see how big heaven is. I bet it's larger than a Costco. Yet, We're spirits. How many spirits can you get in the head of a pin? In any case, he's coming back. That he died to save is going to be with my reward is with me, and we're going to be in that group. No matter what happens, you hold on to that truth. And this is what he was telling the apostles before we even had John's writings. And then finally, he says, "Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, you'll know that it is near, right at the door." And what were all these things up here? None of that has happened yet. None of it. Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. And as we started the class today, God's word never comes back void. Never. This is going to happen. Now, people will take this. Here's Wes going off again, radical that he is. I've seen books by famous people, well-educated people, written about we must be living in the end times. Because Christ says this generation will not pass away until these things have happened. Well, wait a minute. These things haven't happened yet. What he's telling us is when these things above here happen, the sun darken, the moon light, the stars fall from sky, the abomination, when all those things happen, know that the time is near. And those folks are going to be sort of live through it, I guess, if you want to put it. Heaven and earth, this generation will not pass away. So he's trying to tell us that all these things are going to happen in a short period of time. And this is why a lot of people believe you have mid-trib and that the Great Tribulation is this 6 months right here. Or it could even be shorter because it's going to be just awful. And he says if I didn't come back quicker, you'd all be gone. So we're talking about this period right here. When these things happen, this generation is not going to pass away. It doesn't mean all these other silly things that people are trying to attach. I know when the end time is coming. Blah, 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 blah. Forget it. So we're going to have to stop there today. So next week, we're going to look at the 144,000 and the seal and so on. And so there's sort of a pause in this before the last seal and the bowl judgments are revealed. There's a pause, and these people get set aside, commissioned and everything. We're going to talk about that next week.